Ghost of Caliban, the Saga of Luther, Legendary Lord, a Dark Angel Story, by J.M.R. Durham, performed by Otis Johnson. Chapter 1, Darkness After Light. My fragmented images. I recall the light that emitted from an electrified bluish-white dome. Once it had fully formed, it was incredibly bright. My hands had begun to transduce. Then each of my limbs, soon after, every part of my body, piece by piece, had faded from existence. The incredible pain I felt as every cell was pulled apart. Tormented by the recent awareness having come over me, finally I'm able to perceive the extent of my betrayal. Additionally, heretical repercussions. Conviction having taken form as fury engulfing my heart, overcome with such sorrow and remorse. I speak softly. I'm sorry. My son, forgive me, Caliban. Luther's last words echoing as his body completely dissipates, scattered amongst the cosmos. Teleportation complete. The prisoners being transferred to a cryogenic cell as requested. The teleporter machine spirit detected a 10.859% interference while transmitting initiation. Cause of disturbance? Searching. Solution? Unknown. Cellular reconstruction has stabilized. Final scan shows subject vital signs are stabled. Life-form cellular reconstruction is complete. The highest level requires to classify. Master code recognizes and sets to 5 keys. Chapter data log and audio records are now sealed. Initiating expunge of Imperial record. Records purged. Praise be to the machine. No secret is hidden within its circuits. Blessings are to the Omnisia. Awake, I'm surrounded in utter darkness. My body feels intact, yet I ache all over. I'm clothed in what exactly I do not know. The lack of light makes seeing anything impossible. The fabric is adhered to the side of my body due to absorbing the moisture off the floor. How long have I been laying here, unconscious? This room? The hour? What day is it? Dazed, many unknowns stream in and out of my mind. Sitting up, I place my back against the wall. Reaching up, I softly place my fingertips against my eyes, pressing against the soft tissue. Soon relieved that my sight appears intact. Reassured that it is just dark. A dulling ache throbs just behind my optic nerve. Reaching up, I place my hand around my head, cupping my ears. I press in to relieve pressure, an effort to ease the pain. A slew of questions race in and out of my forethoughts, like confusion, continues its course. Where am I? How did I get here? Who am I? Already feeling overwhelmed with uncertainty, I further panic as I internally question, who am I? Realizing that I can't recall my name, mentally struggling to sort through my thoughts, stressing to remember anything at all. My efforts are as water to sand, muddled. Affliction leaves me in dismay. Pressing my back against the wall, slowly, I lift myself, stretching my arms a short distance to either side of my body, while spreading my fingers wide altogether, utilizing my hands to search. The wall is hard, slick with moisture, and seemingly having a slight curvature. Barefoot, I begin shuffling along the floor. Fanning my hands up and down the wall, further shuffling my feet, I caced the perimeter, seeking to understand this environment. The headache I suffered earlier has since left. Nagging questions that harassed my mind at no point ceases. Finally, I cry out, "What is this place? How long have I been here? Do you hear me?" The echoes of my voice bouncing off the wall is the only response. Finally, as I believe I've completed casing the perimeter to what I envision is a cell, my cell, the room is circular and what could be counted as 150 steps in circumference. During the inspection of my surroundings, I perceive the walls are made out of a kind of stone, except for a particular area. Different. It was cold, metallic, and lacking moisture. Additionally, a plated slot is located at the center of what I determine to be my prison door. Still, neither the plate nor door has a means of opening either. Just a slab of cold metal with no defined corners. Consciously, I further investigate the unexposed center of this darkened hell. Cautiously, with my arms and hands outstretched, I place one foot in front of the other, inching my way. When the base of my toes strikes something solid, fingertips feverishly investigating, I feel what to be a horizontal, fully slab of stone, possible likeness to the material of the wall. I counted 75 steps when reaching the solid stone. I assume it to be possibly located at the center of the cell. Alternatively, the slab could be used to lie down, or potentially used for another maniacal purpose. On my hands and knees, I inspect the base of the stone slab. By finger's touch alone, I find a slight groove formed into the floor. To measure the groove, I use my digits, where my thumbs seem to be the closest to the dimensions. The groove is a whole thumb in width and depth. The groove canals from the slab and then leads to the far end opposite side of the room. The canal ends at the base of the wall, where the floor gradually slopes in a circle, forming a bowl. It's a metal-covered drain. Drainage for what, though? The time comes and goes. The days seem to fade away just as my memory had. After a while, seemingly the slightest improvement, I start to recollect some of my basic attributes, regaining rudimentary skills, cognitive processing, fine motor skills, and lastly, redefining muscle memory. A grain of hope entertains my mind. Shouting out, with again the only response, is the echoes of my raspy voice, the solitary leeches at me. Although weary as I am, sleep does not come, nor does it bother me. Fully surrounded by utter darkness, my perception in this environment seems to be playing tricks with my sight. It would seem that my eyes are forever closed. To mark the time, I begin using the beat of my heart. Boom, boom, boom. Each repetitious beat adding up. To further occupy my time and keep physically well, calisthenics is suitable with a lack of illumination, sustained activity benefiting to my sanity. Deep in thought, meditating on any vague imagery, trying to piece the puzzle that is my psyche back together. Crossing my legs, I'm sitting on top of the stone slab. I anticipate on whomever my captors are, within time, eventually he or they will make their presence known. Nothing I say nor do invokes a reaction. Utilizing the rags that clothe me, I absorb the moisture off the floor and walls. With the fabric hovering just above my mouth, I then wring out and extract any of the absorbed liquid. It is barely enough to moisten my cracked lips, let alone quench any thirst. Luther's journey has only just begun. He's yet to fully acknowledge, let alone grasp, the nobility he once held. Descended from grace, Luther, to all appearances, being a feeble wretch, He one time had been an inspiration to not only a Primarch, but to a world and a legion. Trading his humanity in for spite and jealousy, he amassed Caliban-born soldiers in devoting to a revolutionary direction, ruinous in the end. Luther, seemingly now, having no knowledge of his great betrayal and the atrocities it brought in tow. His damaged psyche and current imprisonment have been a part of his actions, his hubris. Ghosts have a way of not staying dead. A deal is a deal, especially when making pacts with higher, unforgiving beings like the dark gods. Luther, failing in delivering the killing blow, scoring slash after slash, leaving ancient master crafted armor dented and gouged. Luther rendering the Lion low, leaving El Jonson flesh lacerated, as the Primarch blood streamed down his armored breastplate, pooling underneath him. His noble blood was running throughout the imperfections in the stone, collecting at the base of Luther's armor boots. Only recently, previously having been only the Night Haunter, to have inflicted such a devastating toll on Lion El Jonson. Numerous combatants stemming from the foul Zeniths to creatures of the wild, even the arcane Neverborn, all previously failed to score any multitudes of blows, let alone pierce his flesh. Lion El Jonson's body doubled over, all while supporting himself on a weakened knee, his strength all but depleted. The Lion reaches up with a trembling left hand and cups the vascular wound that Luther delivered at a right angle, his sword entering just below El Jonson's collarbone, the course of the sword ending as it exits just below the Lion's lower midriff. Grievously, the wound is slowly mending. Clarity coming over Luther as his deranged episode subsides, induced by the sight of Lion El Jonson's critical condition. Recalculating the duel in his mind, Luther now sees that the Lion held restraint to his counterstrikes. Lion El Jonson, therefore, refrained in delivering any substantial blows where there was an opportunity to do so. The apparent gaps displayed in Luther's defense uncanny of a well-aged warrior. During their battle, Lion El Jonson rendered multiple efforts to reason with his adopted father, but in Luther's frenzy he had been oblivious to the openness expressed by his adopted son. The ferocity between once kinsmen were only helping to feed into a multitude of chaotic whispers, such vigorous greater friends who combined coalition the children of the Changer of Ways, the Blood Lord, and the Dark Prince, all feeding into and on Luther's mortal emotions. Luther's fleeting moment between total damnation. Lastly, something beginning to stir deep within Luther, drawing forth from the last bit of his untainted essence. Luther's mind, body, and soul treading on a razor's edge, at a crossroads between one's humanity or pitiless torment that is chaos. The Lion, defenseless as Luther is poised to lay the fatal assault. Chaos coursing through his veins. He's physically elevated to unbelievable stature, gifts from making a pact with gods. Luther tightens his grip around the hilt of his sword, raising his sword just above his head, where the pommel is leveled to his aged forehead, his power gauntlets uneasily flexing around the handle, as Luther shifts to where he's standing just to the side of Lion El Jonson. Position in an executioner's stance, Luther is poised to drop the sword, severing the head of the Lion from his shoulders, in turn fulfilling the wicked compact, caught in the killer's moment, just as Luther is about to commit to finalizing a grievous murder. The sign of a weakened demigod that Luther had once called son, a friend, brother, even lord, suddenly Luther's overcome with grief. What previously had been stirring inside Luther earlier finally arises. It's Luther's compassion, which fills him tenfold, replacing the hate, rage, resentment, and all of his envy. Subdued by his memories of the wild boy whom he took in, and both had formed a bond, the years spent together all while being a mentor to the wild lad. The nameless boy would come to know the whole of Caliban, their traditions, and of the chivalry ways that had been the knightly order. Luther ultimately would give this wild child his name, Lion El Jonson, such gratification that came with fatherhood. Luther's mind, obscured for so many years, fought with so many deaths, brought with such treachery and disdain. He was like that of the sunlight as it finally pierces through the storm. Luther now can fully comprehend his dealing with such monsters and their false covenant. Luther felt like such a fool, allowing such evil beings to pry on his emotions. He had been played. Luther was nothing but a pawn. What have I done? As Luther slowly lowers his hands from above his head, his weary arms hang to either side of his body. His sword is still held loosely in his left grip. Luther lifts his head and shouts into the radiant, lighting-filled tempest. "No, no, no! I will not finish it! Do you hear me, you bastard things, or of unscrupulous gods?" Luther tightens his grip around the hilt of his sword, lifting to where the pommel is level with his chest. Luther then drives the sword down, piercing the stone, planting the blade halfway up its edge. The reverberating blade is stuck 30 centimeters in front of the incapacitated Primarch. Luther, releasing his grip, he steps away from the foul gift. The demonic edge, named the Barbus blade, steered by an unquenchable thirst in absorbing any and all life essence. Luther, steadily looking down at his once adopted son, speaks words laced with grief. "My son!" Luther's tears trace lines down his grimy face. He postures out his power-armored chest as anticipating an unforeseen attack. Spreading his vast arms, Luther shouts to the aurora-filled sky. "I will not slay the lion. Take me. It is I whom you made a pact with, Dark Ones. It is I that will not hold my end of the bargain." With a haze, a flicker of blue and white, as a dome on set is materializing. 2 separate domes, one surrounded Luther and another surrounding the lion. The smell of charged particles, as the hairs stand on end, under Luther's power armor. Electricity flows between the two warriors, lightning striking all around. Smoke rises from the scorched stone. The elements and exhaled vapors from Luther's breath are drawn into the translucent vortex. Entirely formed, the bluish-white dome fully encircles Luther. He's unable to see the injured Primarch. An electrified dome has thoroughly concealed the lion. Teleportation is rare amongst the legions. The ancient machine, a product of man's achievement, though lost to the sands of time. Such a method of transferring is to be only used in dire circumstances, which this is a crucial moment indeed. The light! The light! Luther is blinded as his body slowly dissolves from the plane of existence. He's only left hearing a ringing sound.